Beyonce, I'm from Texas, you're from Texas, and what am I hearing that you don't like indigenous people?
Hey lovelies, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Belinda Strana. Thank you so much for all the love and support. To my returning subscribers, to those people that share my videos, leave commentaries, and also educate each and every one of us. You guys are the real MVPs. So lovelies, I came across this video on my For You, and I thought to share where Asian Americans are all out for their own, and also given the reasons why they are all quiet. I came across these videos on my For You, and I thought to share where Beyonce is actually receiving another backlash. This time around from the Native Americans. They accuse her of supporting Jane O.C. because she wore a Buffalo Soldier shirt. Like, this actually sparked a lot of conversation on the social platform, and I decided to put it up here so that we all can really good about this. I'm just going to roll the clip as well as some of other stitches.
Bruh, Beyonce supporting genociders just because they are black? I wish I could say I was surprised. I'm gonna need all the motherfuckers who said Beyonce's American propaganda was subversive to come to the front, because y'all looking really dumb right now. She released a statement in support of the Buffalo Soldiers, who were black soldiers that were named Buffalo Soldiers after Native Americans who they hunted. She even had the audacity to release a statement calling Native Americans enemies of peace, order, and settlement, also fighting off Mexican revolutionaries. This is American imperialist and settler colonial propaganda in blackface. Mexican revolutionaries, just as those ICE raids was happening, and the day after we go to war with Iran. I need y'all to be wake the fuck up. I just made a video about how America wants black people to be patriots so they'll fight and die for this country, and this shit just came out. The sad part is a lot of black Americans are gonna eat this shit up and defend her anyways, because her stands for Beyonce and they're too tied to black identity that they can't even see that they're working against it. Service of white supremacy. Golly.
Beyonce, what the fuck? We're the enemy? Bitch, did we come to your fucking country to bother y'all? We're not the ones that jumped on some ships and crossed the whole fucking ocean to go kidnap y'all and bring you back in chains. That wasn't us. We're not the ones that slaved y'all out for 400 years. We were the ones standing next to you while they were slaving y'all out. That was the most tone-deaf shit I've ever seen from a fucking celebrity, especially somebody like you. But I'm glad that now we see you for who you really are, and we see everything for what it really is. You said what you said, you did what you did, now stand on that shit.
Beyonce's Buffalo Soldier shirt. What do I have to say about it as a Native person? What I have to say about it is that I think that you should donate to a missing and murdered Indigenous Women's Resource Center, such as the Coalition to Stop Violence Against Native Women, or the National Indigenous Women's Resource Center. There's also places like Not Our Native Daughters that work to end the violence that Native women suffer on a regular basis. Native women are 10 times more likely to be murdered, not just violence. 4 out of 5 Indigenous women experience sexual assault in their lifetime, sexual violence in their lifetime, or just violence, period. And they're 10 times more likely to be murdered than the national average. And there are currently 5,000 missing Indigenous women. And if we're using the actual number, it's 5,712. That's what I have to say about it.
How come there's no awareness on who commit these violent acts against Native American women? Because 90% of the people who commit these crimes against them are men. Correction, 96% of those people who commit acts against Native American women are men. And most of these men get away with it. How about applying pressure to the federal government? Because what can Beyonce really do about it? And as far as the Buffalo Soldiers, what about the Native Americans that went on slave patrol? You had Native American bounty hunters working for white slave owners and getting rewarded for capturing fugitive slaves. And not to mention, they had their own slave patrols. Native Americans had their own slave patrols because they were slave owners. And they fought for the Confederacy. The Confederacy was paying them money for scalping black Union soldiers. They were getting paid for scalping black Union soldiers and runaway slaves. It's funny how y'all pick and choose for whatever's convenient for y'all. And with that, not just Native American women, but justice for all women who are victims to acts of violence committed by men.
Beyonce, I'm from Texas, you're from Texas, and what am I hearing that you don't like indigenous people? Beyonce, you don't like us Indians? What? Girl, you live right next to Mexico, from Houston, Texas, where you came from. You're probably part Indian yourself. Pocahontas, Beyonce, that's what I should be calling you. Girl, I got like 5 different races in her, and then she says she don't like indigenous. Girl, I didn't like your music anyway.
If a Latino told you that African Americans were the enemies of peace, order, and settlement, would you defend that? If an indigenous person told you that African Americans were the enemies of peace, order, and settlement, would you defend that? If an Asian American told you that African Americans were the enemies of peace, order, and settlement, would you defend that? If a white person told you that African Americans were the enemies of peace, order, and settlement, would you defend that? Because apparently you would. And mind you, this isn't a situation where a Fox News reporter got the facts wrong and, you know, tapped into their misogyny war bag. Like, nah, this is just a situation where Beyonce is wrong for doing this. She's 100% in the wrong for not vetting this and for even showing up, popping out with that shirt on in the first place. And yet, still, excuses, false equivalencies run amok. There's even talk about how Native Americans own slaves. And I'm not denying that some Native Americans own slaves, because that's objectively true. But the way that this talking point is being used, especially in this moment, is so funny to me, because it's coming from the same group of people that hated when other races and ethnic groups categorize all black people as one monolithic group. And the same group of people who hate when that happens are the exact same people categorizing all Native Americans as one monolithic group. Mind you, we're talking about thousands of tribes with their own customs, languages, and ways of thinking, and yet we're just gonna conveniently put them all into one monolithic group to say that they all did this, they were all engaged in this, therefore Beyonce's actions are excused in full. I also love hearing the excuse that this Buffalo Soldiers t-shirt was taken from a website, written by AI, and Beyonce didn't release the merch. Like, that doesn't make it worse, because you're a Beyonce fan. When have you known Beyonce to half-ass anything? You know this. I know this. Her and her team are well known to vet everything, to go over every single meticulous detail. That's what makes her albums amazing, her art amazing, her music amazing, her stage presence and performances amazing. And yes, you let this slide? And then didn't even add in the nuance of the Buffalo Soldiers and how they were enslaved and psychologically set up to fight for the U.S. empire, which makes the whole thing so much more worse and horrible when you really put it into context, when you add in the nuance of white people putting an enslaved, oppressed class against another enslaved, oppressed class, all to benefit white people at the end. But no, accountability must be dodged because Beyonce is dropping a rock album next. So prepare for nothing else to come out of this but excuses, false equivalences, and talking points that just lack nuance entirely.
The We Are the World people are at it again. I mean, they don't ever get tired, especially when they come to Beyonce. Because here they are yet again hooking up another car to the train to try to take her down. What's their weapon of choice? Oh, it's the same thing. It's anti-blackness rooted in activism for another group of people. Duh. So Beyonce posted this picture to her website. You know, the website where her fans go to check for updates. The one thing about history is sometimes it's pretty and sometimes it's ugly. But either way you slice it, it is still a part of history. In this case, we're talking about the Buffalo Soldiers. And as you can see on the back of the shirt, there are many paragraphs. But the agenda of the script is to get you to skip over the first 4 paragraphs and go to the 5th one. Seeing as though the first 4 paragraphs talk about the treatment of Black Americans during this time. Hence the reason why I stand by the anti-Black sentiments that I spoke about in the beginning of this video. Because at the end of the day, the struggles may be different, but they are still struggles on both sides. And I believe that that can be acknowledged without the shaming of Black American history. Because at the end of the day, that is what it's doing. Now back to the lesson at hand that Beyonce has brought us all here to understand. So it says that the Buffalo Soldiers were formed in 1866, which is a very pivotal date, seeing as though we just celebrated Juneteenth. Hopefully everybody realizes that slavery ended in 1865. And shortly after that, Congress passed a bill that created the 9th and 10th Cavalries, who were later named the Buffalo Soldiers. So no, they were not named the Buffalo Soldiers initially. And the exact origin of the Buffalo Soldier nickname that was given to them is believed to have come from the Native Americans themselves. Because around this time, everybody was fighting for freedom. So yes, there were wars and battles that involved Native Americans and also Black Americans. But the point that is getting left out is that this was still under white man's rule in order of expansion. So the notion of people trying to put Black American soldiers as the face of what happened is ridiculous. And just because you acknowledge history does not mean that you're celebrating history, but it is still a part of history, good or bad. But again, belittling the Black struggles are normal these days. It seems as though everybody has become so desensitized, and each and every time the Black struggle gets pushed further and further out of the narrative. The We Are the World people are at it again. I mean, they don't ever.
Here's my thing with this whole Beyonce t-shirt controversy. Now, I'm trying not to be biased because I am a big fan, but in my life, whenever somebody does something hurtful to me or to someone I know or love, I always ask myself first, what was their intention? Were they trying to hurt me, or did they mess up and make a mistake and hurt me? And that's what y'all need to do with this situation. What happened to saying, hey, you did this thing and it hurt me, and I know you probably didn't have bad intentions, but here's why it's not appropriate. Instead of attacking people, calling them horrible people, and saying that there's no way that this was a mistake, blah, blah, blah. Like, why do we go to instantly the canceling? Why? Like this tweet, isn't that a little bit far? Like, are we like not touching grass? Like, I just don't get it. Do you not have you not made mistakes in your life? How do you handle problems in your life? Do you just yell and attack people from the jump? Do you have conversations? That's my thing. But what we're not going to do is act like Beyonce woke up that morning and said, oh my gosh, I'm going to put on this shirt and cause so much controversy and make everybody mad and make people feel like their history is erased and this and that and that. Be so for real.
To all the natives talking about Beyonce and the Buffalo Soldiers, shut the fuck up. Tell the whole goddamn truth. You enslaved us. That's why the Buffalo Soldiers had no problems eradicating your asses. Tell the whole goddamn truth. Excuse me, the Buffalo Soldiers was born in 1866, and the Cherokee did not actually free their slaves until 1863. You think 3 years is enough fucking time for me to goddamn forgive you? Even after Django was freed, do you know Django still took that money? Like many people did. You give us the option to take down people who enslaved us, we'll have no problem with it. Even the people who didn't enslave us, like the freaking Creek Indians, they would turn us in to slave catchers. So you got what the hell you deserved. Don't cry. Don't deflect. The moment you freaking deflect, you just make me that much angrier. As someone who's a direct descendant of people who were actually enslaved by the goddamn Choctaw. Fuck off.
I love Beyonce down just as much as the next person, y'all. I really do. And as a Black and Native woman, one who is getting her master's in Indigenous law, I believe I'm qualified to speak on this topic, you know, and provide some education. Before I even get into this, I do want to acknowledge that the history of the Buffalo Soldiers, very complex, very complicated. This is actually very interesting because I just got done really deep diving into the Civil War era of Indigenous law and federal Indian policy. Basically, Buffalo Soldiers did play a big part in enforcing colonial westward expansion. And while on one hand there was an opportunity for Black Americans to find a little bit more stability by pursuing the military and all this, they were given an opportunity to survive in white supremacist society, you know, but at what cost? Because this came at the direct expense of Indigenous sovereignty and lives. It's just really sick because they were forced to remove Indigenous people off their ancestral lands and force them onto reservations. So in the end, both Black and Native people are really victims of US settler colonialism. So then for Beyonce to go and enforce that Indigenous people are the enemies in westward expansion and US colonialism, like, girl, I thought we were for the people. I thought we were for liberation. And I do think there was an opportunity where it could have been done for her to just, you know, represent the Buffalo Soldiers because obviously that was the path for Black Americans at the time. But to double down and say Indigenous people were antagonists is really just pitting two people against each other. And I'm also confused because I know Beyonce has like deep roots to New Orleans, Louisiana. I think she had her wedding there or something. And that has a deep, rich history of Indigenous and Black solidarity. So for her to pit these two, you know, peoples of oppression against each other is truly so sad. And I just feel like your fave icon wouldn't do that. Your fave icon who's looking to change the world in a positive light wouldn't put oppressed people against each other. So I don't know why she did that. And I feel like at her level, things are very intentional. So it's just a little bit scary. And, you know, I was a base stan, but I don't know how to feel about this. So if there is anything I can ask, you know, Beyonce, please do better. I do want people to be educated. You know, it's really us against them in this larger battle of oppression and, you know, colonization that's still ongoing. And it looks like Beyonce's just trying to be on the side of the oppressors. And I guess from all this, I would just want to ask Beyonce why? Why promote this message? Why have that writing on your back? And maybe she doesn't care. She's not for the people. Maybe I just need to accept that. Sad. I mean, you know what they say. Never meet your idols.
I just saw a post getting a lot of attention that Beyonce is defending genocide. I wonder, but then I realized, like, oh, some people don't know how to, you know, read about history without it being a TikTok slideshow. So, the Buffalo Soldiers were a group of black men that were conscripted into a military that literally just stopped enslaving them. They weren't handed guns and power, they were handed survival in a white supremacist country that literally gave them no other option. They were stuck in a system that they didn't design. And yet now they're being blamed for the crimes of an empire. It's giving historical amnesia, bad faith wrapped in a hot take, basically. Beyonce's post didn't celebrate conquest, it acknowledged complicity within oppression. Which, surprise, it's not the same endorsement. It's a reflection of the messy truth of what it meant and still means to be black in America. Used, discarded, and then blamed for the very system that used you. So let's be really clear. Beyonce isn't defending genocide. She's highlighting a part of history that most people wouldn't even care to learn about unless she put it in their faces. She's having her audience look at the uncomfortable correlation and intersection of race, nationalism, and war. Some people just can't handle that because they're addicted to binaries, and good or bad, victim or villain, it's Beyonce or genocide, basically. Grow up. Because what she posted wasn't about erasure, it was about reclamation. And if that really threatens, like, the sanitized version of history that's in your head, then good. That's what it was meant to do.
See, yet again, she is receiving another backlash, this time around from specifically Native Americans. They are so upset with her. They are like accusing her of being a supporter of Gen OC because, you know, she wore the Buffalo Soldiers clothes. And these Native Americans were like, okay, these people were actually the people that oppressed us. Like, no, the oppressor used them to oppress us and getting us out from our land. Like, they go as far as to deep more on history, and this got a lot of both Native people, Black Americans, you know, sharing their history and some words, and the fact that okay, these Native people that was actually complaining of these Buffalo Soldiers who they assume um were all committing genocide to them also had slaves. Like they were the own slaves. If we should go back to history, and now through the fact of, you know, dismantling slave and the Buffalo soldiers came to be, they were actually used by the supremacy to, you know, get them out from the land. Like this just have everything to do with survival of the fittest. What I see with all of these things going on is the fact that these two, was just used by this by the upper class, or like let me just use the word upper class. I mean the white supremacists. As someone who has been enslaved and just looking for ways to start up to survive, and when you're told to do this or do that in order for you to survive, you just have to do anything possible to survive. Being the fact that the person that they told you to do this and do that has one way or the other wronged you, like I've wronged you in the past. Like this whole discourse of Beyonce coming up on my Facebook, but native people coming up, accusing Beyonce, black people sharing their experiences and all of that. Well, I think that Beyonce have actually received a lot of backlash this year. Like, there's nothing that anyone that looks like me does that will not be discriminated, even if you're doing it with another different intention. People will still come and make it look like, okay, you are not the only one that is being oppressed. We are also oppressed by you. But I think that there is a channel to all of these things. Like all of the things happening with this Beyonce discourse should actually be channeled with the real cause of all of the problem, which happens to be the supremacists, because they are the reason why all of this is happening. They enslaved you, they used you to capture black people. You became one of their slave masters, and now when the time for Buffalo Soldiers, they also need to defend themselves. Like it's just a two-way thing, you know. Beyonce, on the other hand, there's nothing she would do that would place people. Like I think this is just sad woman. Anything she does, it's always, oh, why will you do that? You don't belong here. Oh my God. I could vividly remember during the Super Bowl, from the Super Bowl, even so many backlash. Beyonce is always being dragged, no matter anything she does. But with this whole discourse, I think it has to do with understanding and to also understand the real cause of the problems, The real cause happens to be the supremacists. I think the energy with all of this dragging Beyonce and there should be channeled with the people that actually stole your land. I think that energy should be channeled there rather than trying to make people that look like me, you know. Anyway, lovelies, why not just leave me your own thought in the comment section of what you think of this video, and please do not forget that we do not support any form of bullying and harassment. We're just here for educational and informative purposes. So guys, if you've not subscribed to this channel, do your girl a huge favor to click on the subscription button, and I will see you lovelies when I upload the next one. Your own thought in the comment section of what you think of this video, and please do not forget that we do not support any form of bullying and harassment. We are just here for educational and informative purposes. So lovelies, if you've not subscribed, your girl a huge favor to click on the subscription button, and I will see you lovelies when I upload the next one.